Now let's take a look at how we can import reference images into our ZBrush scenes here. So let's say that we want to start to build something that is based on some sort of an image that we have. Maybe it's a drawing that we've created or artwork we've gotten from someone else, or maybe a photograph. And we want to be able to, in our scene, have some reference for that. So let's just start by bringing in a simple cylinder. We'll draw it onto the canvas, go to edit mode, and go ahead and go down to initialize, and I want to make it a little bit larger. So what I'm actually going to do is go ahead and take the X size and the Y size down to 50, and let's actually make that 20. So now it's going to be longer than it is wide there. All right, let's go ahead and make that a poly mesh. And then I want to rotate this so it's standing straight up. And we'll look at different ways of rotating our models in a minute. I'm just going to go to deformation, and under rotate, I want to make sure and rotate it in the right axis. So you can see we can change our axis here. And I'm just going to go ahead and put in 90 degrees there. And you can see the floor pops to the bottom of that. So let's say that this is kind of our starting mesh. And let's go ahead and subdivide this. I'm going to hit Control D a few times. Again, we'll go over all of this in the coming lessons, but at this point we want to concentrate on our reference images. So we have a floor grid. If we go under Draw and come all the way down here, you can see that we actually have options for front, back, up, down, left, right. And so these are going to be the areas where we can add an image to serve as reference. So let's say we want to do front, back. So open up front to back. You can see map 1 and map 2. So one's going to be the front, one's going to be the back. Okay, and then we have some options over here. You can say I just want to use one map for both sides, or I can turn that off, or I can switch them around. So when we access our maps like this, and you see these tabs to insert a map, it's going to be accessing our texture palette. So this brings up all the existing textures. Now if we don't happen to have a texture that we want to use already loaded up in the texture palette, we can go ahead and import that. So we want to go to the actual texture palette and go to import. Now I'm going to jump in here, and you can import any sort of images you want. I have a few images. I'm just going to go ahead and bring in some statues here. So you can see there's just some bitmap images that we're able to import in. Now when we go in and access that map, so we'll come down here to map, we can use any of those images that we created. So we can turn on one of these statues, and you can see here that it's actually loaded that up. You can turn off perspective and get a nice orthographic look at this. Okay. Now if you can see that the image right now is a lot bigger than the actual object. Okay. So let's go into snap, and let's snap to mesh. And now you can see that that matches up a little bit better with our object. Now we can't really see the image behind this object, so we can also come in here and start to adjust things. And again, we're in the front to back, and so we can change things like the scale of it. We can change the horizontal offset. We can change the vertical offset. We can change the angle. Okay. We can adjust it. So if we want to make some changes to the actual image itself, we can do that there. We can also, right next to floor, we can change the fill mode. And so here you can see it's kind of on full. Here it's kind of in the front. Okay. 0 is off. So you have your different fill modes. If you want to be able to see the image through it, you can do that. Okay. We can also hit this front button, which will show the image in front of the mesh. So in this case, you know, you would come in here, and if I had my move brush, I could come in and start to move the model and match it up a little bit better with the geometry that we're creating, or the model that we want to create. And you start to match your model that way. Okay. Now if you want to have multiple images in here, and you can see where this one is located. That was on the front to back. If you wanted to go into, let's say, left right, and you wanted to bring in a map, you can see that brings in another map on this side. So if you had a front view and a side view, you could bring them both in and then go from side to side and match up your geometry, and then that'll allow you to get something that kind of matches up with what you're doing or what you want to do with your drawings. Okay, and that's all located in the draw palette. Okay, if you want to turn off the visibility of this, if you want to turn off everything, all you have to do is turn off the floor grid, and that'll turn off those other grids as well. You can also add images not only to the front, back, and the side, but also to the top and bottom. So again, same sort of options here for including maps for the top and bottom, and you can add those in as well. Another thing that you can do is if you have a particular model that you're working with, so let's say we go back and get our worm guy, and I come in here, and let's say on the left and right, I can go ahead and turn that off just by turning the texture off. And then let's say in the front to back, I'll go ahead and turn that texture off. Now let's say I want to create a grid image with the model that I've created here. Okay, so what I can do is go into Draw, and right here you can see Snapshot to Grid. So I'll go ahead and create a Snapshot to Grid, and that will create an image from the front. Okay, you can see that front view or the side view. Okay, so if you've got something that you need to be able to match up and you need to be able to create some reference images very quickly, then that Snapshot to Grid will enable you to do that. So it's taken the existing model and now created maps, and you can see this even has the front and the back. We don't have that turned on, but you can see the front there, and then we could go in and switch it if we wanted to. Okay, so it actually automatically creates those images for you. So if you're working with a model and you want to be able to create some reference images for that, then that Snapshot to Grid will be a great help to you. So that's taking a look at reference images on our grids. In the next lesson, let's take a look at how we can start to manipulate our 3D objects, so transforming those, moving them, rotating, scaling them, and we'll go into some greater detail on some of the techniques that we can use to do that. So go ahead and do that next.